Today on Hearts of Heroes, remnants of a hurricane make it up the East Coast.
There will be multiple residents with people on their roofs, with people trying to get out of the house, on tables.
Leaving parts of Philadelphia in a flooded chaos.
It felt like a sinking ship. It wasn't anything that we ever expected was going to happen.
Plus, when a preschool is threatened by a flash flood, unexpected heroes come to the rescue.
All you could think about is, let's figure out something with these kids, and nothing else really mattered.
For what they give, we all owe a great debt of gratitude to our first responders.
When the remnants of Hurricane Ida squeezed up against this cold front that was moving through the Northeast, it almost acted like a saturated towel being wrung out. Amazing amounts of moisture inundating big cities like Philadelphia.
But when that happened, first responders and neighbors stepped up, proving why it truly is the city of brotherly love.
There are few cities as steeped in American history as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Founded in 1682, it is one of the oldest municipalities in the United States. Here is where the Founding Fathers signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution.
You have so many museums, the arts and the culture that people don't realize that. You have the Franklin Institute, you have the Art Museum, you have a historical district with the Liberty Bell and the Constitution Center.
Alyssa and Mike O'Rourke are from New Jersey, and they fell in love with the city of Philadelphia, so they decided to have a destination wedding in 2021. And they only had one place in mind for the ceremony.
We actually only looked at one venue, which was the Fiddler Club, and we looked at that venue in January. So we just kind of pulled the trigger, and we're like, okay, I guess we're planning a wedding in 9 months.
Alyssa and Mike, we really connected right away. They seem to really match the vibe. They're the perfect couple when it comes to matching who we are and our aesthetic.
The Fiddler Club is a 130,000 square foot facility that includes restaurants, a bowling alley, swimming pool, a gym, an arcade, and a number of cultural and art events. But all of this was threatened when remnants of Hurricane Ida met a cold front in September of 2021.
As a storm is coming, you only have probably at tops 48 hours to prepare, because it could turn anywhere you wanted to go.
The system dropped 4 to 7 inches of rain in just a couple of hours. It really was about how fast that rain fell. Rivers and creeks swelled rapidly. The Fiddler Club happens to sit on the banks of the Schuylkill River. As the waters kept rising, sewage and drainage pipes backed up.
We thought we were well prepared. I had 60 sandbags and vigilant watch from me, security guard, and an overnight manager. And then it started to become bigger than what we thought it was going to be.
That night, it was storming down here. What affected us the most was the next morning. When the river started cresting, I think it crested to like 28 feet.
Through the early morning hours, Jeff was at the club sending text updates to his staff, updating them on the damage.
Okay, this is the 6 a.m. update. Field house, about 6-8 inches of water submerged and growing. The pool is completely submerged.
The 6 a.m. update, clear as day, said 3 to 4 inches. And then my 8 o'clock update said I'm waist high and it's about to crest at 11 o'clock. So that's how fast it happened. It felt like a sinking ship. It wasn't anything that we ever expected was going to happen.
30 miles away in Downingtown, a suburb of Philadelphia, Police Chief Howard Holland tried to protect his community from Ida's wrath.
The rain started, we started to lose roads, we started to put out barricades as we typically do. Then the water rescue started coming in because people would drive around the barricades, and the thing is, people don't understand how dangerous it is because of swift currents.
Then Chief Holland got a call saying the police station was about to flood.
The fire chief called me on the phone and advised me that we were losing this complex. I said, well, how much time do we have? And he responded, we have minutes.
So he raced back to the station.
My officers were here. We grabbed whatever we could in the cars and we left. And as we're leaving, I was actually, my vehicle, I'm actually pushing the water, and I gave those officers, if my vehicle stalls, just keep pushing me, don't let me drift away.
The members of the Downingtown Police Department evacuated the station to higher ground. They set up headquarters at a local church.
But once I got there, I realized the gravity of the situation. I immediately activated the National Guard. I called in support from Lancaster County, Delaware County. We activated fast water rescue teams from Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey.
These first responders know that every second counts in an emergency, so they are trained to work in unison to make sure everyone has all the information they need to pull off a rescue.
With the storm's unrelenting rain, first responders did what they do best. They rescued people.
Everybody did a tremendous job. The firefighters were literally being dispatched to locations, and when they get to that location, there would be multiple residents with people on their roofs, with people trying to get out of the house, on tables.
There was seemingly nowhere to escape.
This whole town was flooded out everywhere. The Public Works building was under 9.5 feet of water. We had 4 feet of water through the police station. Many, many residents displaced.
Coming up, people that survived now have to face the aftermath.
As the water receded, people started to go back to their homes and witness the devastation.
And later, a flooded daycare center calls for a swift water rescue.
We were nervous. We didn't know what we were going to do.
But first, this safety tip.
Storms can go from bad to worse in a matter of seconds.
That's why it's so important to listen to weather and evacuation warnings from your local authorities during these events. These warnings are issued to keep everyone safe in the event of a disaster.
Remember, following the advice issued by first responders and authorities might just save your life.
In September 2021, what was left of Hurricane Ida squeezed against a cold front right over some of the most populated cities in our nation. Philadelphia had a record amount of flooding, leaving people stranded and buildings underwater. Downingtown Police Chief Howard Holland knew that the situation was dire, so he called in help from the National Guard.
What people have to understand, it takes time for those resources to get here because they're experiencing inclement weather too that's going to impact their travel time.
While Downingtown first responders waited for backup to arrive, they still went to work and helped those that needed emergency assistance.
Anytime we were dispatched to a particular location, once they got there, they were noticed there were multiple people to be rescued. They were on the roofs, they were on tables on the second floor.
Finally, they got backup. The National Guard arrived.
Like all heroes, these first responders put their own safety on the line in order to help those in peril. And the results were nothing less than miraculous.
After that pouring hours of rain, the flooding ebbed.
We had over 200 evacuations at that command post, and then as the water receded, people started to leave and go back to their homes and witness the devastation.
In Philadelphia, the staff of the Fittler Club saw the devastation firsthand. Facility Director Dave Sawa arrived soon after the storm passed, and he saw employees in waist-high water trying to salvage anything they could.
We saved all the artwork. A lot of things you can't save. It's replaceable. So, you just got to make everybody safe. And then once the river went away, that's when you went in and seen the mess.
And the destruction was surreal.
There was fish flopping around as the water receded. There's silt and mud everywhere. Pieces of furniture were floating. Things that were heavy that you couldn't imagine were lifted up and moved.
Basically, the odor was the first thing that caught me. The second thing that caught me was the silt. So it was just covered in mud, like the bottom of a riverbed.
They knew this was a much larger task than they could handle alone, so they called in our sponsor, Belfour Property Restoration. Project manager Victor D. Philippus was one of the first to show up.
Once the river receded, you're left with just a thick layer of mud. It's just a matter of getting enough manpower in there to move the mud. Any porous material needed to be removed, such as drywall, carpet. The pool was full of mud, so we had to empty that out, scrub the pool down.
While Belfour worked on the lower level, Fittler was luckily able to open up the top floors. But the restoration would take months, and the weddings that were booked in the lower banquet hall had to be postponed.
A contract for a wedding isn't just a financial obligation. To me, it's a commitment. It's a promise that I feel we were going to do anything that we needed to do to fulfill that promise, to host and execute their wedding.
Catering director Stephanie Carr had to make a difficult call to Mike and Alyssa.
We got a call from Stephanie at Fiddler Club saying that, I'm so sorry, the whole event space is destroyed. And yeah, we kind of sat in silence for a little bit.
Since this was a destination wedding, their guests had already booked their flights and hotel rooms. Postponing really wasn't an option. So Stephanie called a nearby venue.
Right away, they were willing to help, willing to host the venue, willing to work with us and allow us to cater. They really stepped up and became an amazing partner of ours.
I think the coolest part was that we still did get to have our Philadelphia wedding. I think that was the biggest question mark, just given everything going on in Philly with the floods. So many places were affected.
Over in the borough of Downingtown, people were also coming together to help one another.
When the community came out to help, you saw a couple things. One, food, necessities, and then you saw people who maybe elderly, maybe couldn't move furniture, couldn't do stuff. Then you saw people coming in and offering to help and move all the heavy stuff for them and get them out.
Though many homes and even the police station were lost that day, Chief Holland knows that Downingtown will always remain strong.
The rescuers, yeah, we did our jobs, but I think the community in this one, they're the real heroes because they're the ones who put everything aside, focused on a goal, and got it done.
I think that when crisis brings people together, you have a different sense of gratitude. I think the crisis really just brought people closer.
Coming up, a flash flood leaves teachers and students of a daycare center trapped in rising water.
Fast as it happened, I want to say within 4 or 5 minutes. You didn't have time to think.
Flash floods come on, as their name implies, in a flash, often trapping people in their homes, businesses, and especially cars.
When floodwaters threatened a daycare center in Georgia, it was the staff of the facility who became the heroes to a group of young children.
18 miles outside of Atlanta in northwest Georgia, you'll find the city of Austell. With a population of around 7,000, it is a great place to live for people who enjoy small-town life but still want to be close to the city.
Austell, Georgia is like a small-knit community outside of the city of Atlanta. Everybody knows everybody. All the kids go to school here.
Being in Georgia means the summers are hot and humid, but also stormy.
We typically have temperatures in the 90s, a very hot, sticky, almost jungle-like climate, which usually results in an afternoon to evening thunderstorm.
It can be 95 degrees and sunny outside to all of a sudden having torrential rainfall.
In August of 2021, Tropical Storm Fred made landfall well south of Austell. But they knew they could get some heavy rain. Many people just figured, though, it'd be an amped-up summer day.
It rained a lot, but then during the storm, it would dry up and then it would be sunny again. So we didn't really think anything different of it.
Tropical Storm Fred passed through without much wind, but as the National Weather Service and local forecasters were warning, inland flooding was an issue, and Austell took on the heart of the problem. Jamelia Clark is supervisor at Always Kids, a daycare center.
The day started like any other day. It was sunny out. All the kids was here that day. So when pre-K let out, it was normal.
Flash flood watches became warnings, and just like its namesake, the flooding began in a flash.
It was just one of those heavy rain showers that came in. It's unexpected sometimes, and you don't really know how involved it's going to get.
Daycare teacher LaQuanda Wilson was finishing up her class when suddenly everything changed.
We were in the classroom, and I was just cleaning up, finishing, getting ready to go home. And one of the teachers came, and she was like, "There's water coming in through the doors."
LaQuanda and the other teachers rushed to the front entrance.
By the time I came out the classroom and went to the front door, it was just seeping through the doors. So we got the sandbags and we tried to put them down, but it was just seeping too fast.
The rain is coming down hard and it's coming from front to back because we have a pond in the back, we have a creek on the side, and then we have a creek across the street. So we're like dead set in the middle of all of that.
People living in these high-risk flood areas need to always be aware that the conditions can change in a matter of minutes.
The sandbags kept most of the water from coming in, But outside the daycare center, the flood had risen over 3 feet. That's well over the head of most of the 23 students who were trapped.
We went around the building looking to see if we could, move to the back of the building, but we realized that the water back here was already coming. So we just put sandbags around everywhere, and then we gathered up the kids, talked to the other teachers, and tried to find the best place to put the children.
All you could think about is, let's figure out something with these kids, and nothing else really mattered.
Coming up, a Swiftwater team comes to the rescue.
We were nervous. What will we do if the water keeps rising? How will we get out?
But first, a tip to keep you safe.
One of the scariest things during a disaster is not being able to reach or locate your loved ones.
Making sure your emergency contacts are updated at home, work, and school can make it easier to get in touch with the important people in life during a disaster. This, combined with a family emergency plan, can help you get connected even if you get separated.
And remember, something as easy as updating a contact could save you frustration and panic in the event of a disaster.
In August of 2021, the city of Austell, Georgia, was hit with the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred, causing inland flash flooding. It flooded creeks, ponds, and rivers. The Always Kids Daycare Center was in the center of those rising floodwaters.
We were nervous. We didn't know, what we were going to do. At the time, when the water was still rising, we were just like, okay, what are we going to do?
Staff members LaQuanda Wilson and Jamelia Clark had come up with some ways to keep their 23 students safe.
The game plan was to just get all the kids up high because of the way the water was rushing in, so we just got them all out. The teachers were very good with that. They all worked together to bring them from the back to the front and get in one classroom.
While the staff was anxious, they kept it together. Many of the children were too young to realize how dangerous the situation really was.
Kids think everything is an adventure. So they saw the water and they was just excited just to get to sit on the table and eat extra after-school snacks.
By this time, first responders heard the daycare was flooding.
Being the first engine on scene, I think the biggest thing was that's a lot of water.
So much water, they had to park their engine and wade through the waist-deep water to get to the school.
In these kinds of swift water rescues, first responders need to be cautious of the many dangers they themselves face.
We walked to the front door and we linked up with the teachers on scene.
Firefighter Jesse Verdejo tried to see if there was any other exit.
I walked around to the back to see what all the exits were, and the back, it was even worse. So we went back to the front. I told the lady up front to let us know how many kids are in there, get a head count, and we called for Squad 4 for a flotation device.
Squad 4 is a water rescue team that has access to inflatable rafts. Lieutenant Wesley Sheard and his team were dispatched to the daycare.
We arrived on scene, and myself and my engineer went and met with the engine crew to see what they needed.
They devised a plan to raft the children across the water and drop them off on dry land. Next step, make sure the kids don't panic during the rescue.
Now I went and told the kids, hey, you guys get to ride a boat. They got super excited. And we got them ready, and once Squad made it to the door, we started getting the kids out.
We started with the youngest kids first and probably put about 6 to 8 kids every time on that and shuttled them back and forth from the building.
But the children still needed to be evacuated from the center to a safer area away from the flood.
About a quarter of a mile up the road was an elementary school, which I knew had already let out for the day. Principal actually came to the door. She's like, what can I do for you? And I said, well, I have 28 preschoolers that are trapped in floodwaters and I need a place to put them. And she said, bring them here.
Once at the school, they were greeted by dozens of very relieved parents.
The parents were concerned, just want to know what happened and, if everybody was okay, and thanking everybody for doing the best we could to keep their kids safe.
And the staff of Always Kids will always be thankful for the brave heroes who came to their rescue.
Thank you for doing everything to make sure that we were safe. Thank you for everything that you do.
Heroes need to be recognized, especially these days, so we really appreciate it.
And likewise, the first responders appreciate the dedication and professionalism that the daycare staff showed that day.
They had a handle on all the children. They knew where they were at in line, getting out of the building, which staff members they were with, and they did a very good job.
In times of distress, we always know we can count on the bravery and dedication of our heroic first responders.
And luckily for us, there are also unexpected heroes who rise up to save the day.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.